I
All right.
am recording.
All right, let's get started. Hey, welcome. Thank you for attending on a Friday afternoon. I hope this meeting finds you well, and I hope that we provide some news that might be good for you. So welcome. Kate and I have a couple things that we're going to go over. We're going to share some information from Emily by proxy. She had to step out for a training that she's in. So we're just going to cut right to it, try to maximize our time here. Basically, we have taken a look at the curriculum maps and the pacing guides, and we're trying to look at ways to provide you a little bit of time and space in this new learning format. So what that means in science, we're going to continue with the current unit in science. What does it matter? That timeline will not change at this point. You'll be wrapped up with that in March, around the week of March 22nd. But what will change is that the last unit we will make optional for you. And there are several reasons why we will do that. Not that we want to cut science, but we also understand the uniqueness of this this year and the situation we're in. So what that will do is basically after the week of 322, that will give you until the end of June, where you're going to have a little bit of time and a little bit of space. What should happen is you should keep your science block intact. So in your daily schedule, you want to keep that intact because a lot of you have different special ed and ancillary staff that are already scheduled during that time. What we're going to view it as extra time. So that it'll be with specific ideas in mind, not necessarily just a cushion of minutes, but basically some specific things that you can do based on the specific needs of your students and any deficits that you've uncovered due to the course of this year. So you can use the time after the matter unit to work on those needs and those deficits. Some things to keep in mind that could be used in this space, particularly your kids coming out of first grade last year in spring. There may be some critical math concepts that just need to be strengthened. You may have uncovered those in the first half of the year. You can cycle back, you can go back to those, regrouping, ungrouping, some of these skills that are just challenging for this age level. Another thing is looking at your students based on how they have assessed. You may find that you may work at a little bit of an enhanced pace after this science block opens up, which then would allow you to work at a little bit of a slower pace as we get more towards the end of the year, because typically those skills cycle in math. I'm speaking those skills cycle, and so you may have to slow down a little bit for math.
Jamie, let's pause right there. Let's pause right there for a second. I really want to emphasize what Jamie's saying, which is that if you see an opportunity in math right now to go fast, take it. Okay, because last year, your first graders, when they were first graders, they didn't get March to June. So you're used to kids maybe that have had and I'm going to make this up, but a minute of experience with measurement or a minute of experience with geometry. They're coming with none. So come about the mid-March to the end of the year, your pace in math will slow down extensively. So for now, you may want to go as fast as you can go. That's what he meant by the enhanced pace right now. Double dip. Take the little extra bonus time, do a little math. It's going to put you ahead, but that's going to be a good thing come the middle of March.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, and really that's a good point. You also have other things, keyboarding and cursive. Those are things that you can use that time for moving forward. Keep in mind this time should not be used for non-curriculum related activities such as crafts and things like that. This is really giving back the time so that you can identify those critical components. And we keep coming back to math. Math, we know that if you have a gap in certain conceptual areas, that it's just gonna lead to a deficit down the road. So that, based on how you've assessed the kids and based on how they performed thus far, those are areas that you could target. So again, just to kind of recap, looking ahead, you're going to stick with the What Does Matter unit. That should be wrapped up mid-March. You'll still receive support through that. That's not going to change. The optional unit in May, I'm going to share with you the schematic in just a second. That basically is optional. You still could receive support in that. We're not changing that option at all. You'll still have coaching support, but basically it'll turn into an optional. So if you take a look here, basically that 322 is where we're planning on What Does It Matter to stop. And then I'll scroll down. You were scheduled to have 4 weeks down for science, but essentially you have from the end of March until the end of the year, if it works best for your students, if it works best for them, if they have the needs and the deficits that you need to cycle back and work on. If your students, if things are playing out well and you're happy with their progress, and we really don't know what the schedule will be like in the future. That's kind of been the motto this year, is we just kind of expect the unexpected. But if we do get back full days and the schedule returns, you may find that you have this time to really work to put this science time back in, and you'll have the materials. The kits are not going away. We haven't canceled the order. You'll still more than likely get that gray tub, and so you'll have what you need. You'll have the support from the coaches, but just know that we really. Our primary goal was to create time and space for you so that you can do what's best for your students based on the core curricular areas. A couple of things though, we, as the science department, we really don't want science to be gone from your thinking. So you can still work a lot on science related skills. You have whiteboards. You could do whiteboarding in math. You can do whiteboarding in Reader's Workshop and Writer's Workshop, where kids are still, bringing their ideas from their mind out to something on a whiteboard. You can still just have discussions in partnerships. You can still do small groups as long as those groups remain the same. You can have kids talk about their reasoning in math. That's a very science related skill. You can use evidence that you see. You can use patterning, data collection. That's part of it. How to organize data. So you still have the ability to promote these scientific skills that we have been advocates of with the units, but it just may have a different feel in a different subject area. So. Okay.
The only other thing we would mention here is about social studies in second grade. So social studies in second grade is a little bit unique in the fact that, you are learning a little bit about Lake Orion. It's hard to find like a book to read out loud to teach the kids about Lake Orion. We are as a department, Beth and I are working on some materials for you guys, but here's our message. Our message is social studies in second grade will be taught through read aloud, interactive writing, some shared reading and discussion. It's not graded on the report card. It literally isn't even it says now, second grade does not assess social studies. So at this time, it's sort of taking a back seat to some of the other subject areas. We're putting it in wherever we can, but it is more important that we backfill those holes right now. It's more important that we get through the math, than anything else. So that we have to make some sacrifices, and we're going to make some sacrifices in language arts too, and I'll show those to you. But we just want to make sure that message is loud and clear. It's going to have to take a back seat right
now. Okay. That pacing guide will be posted. We have a couple more grade levels to have discussions with. It'll be posted on the staff portal for you. But essentially, the takeaway from you: continue with this unit. You'll still be supported. And then after this unit, you'll have to make some professional decisions based on the needs of your students. And that may include not cycling back to the third unit, or it may. So, great.
Anybody have any questions so far? You ready to look at our chopping block. Okay, so here's what I'm going to tell you about reading and writing, and then we'll look at the changes that we had to make. The kids are going to read every day, and the kids are going to write every day. They're going to have reading workshop and writing workshop every day. But we're going to make some significant changes to what your mini lessons might look like in those spots, okay? So let me show you first what units we're going to still do and which ones we're going to cut, okay? So right now, it is my hope that you are in nonfiction reading, that you've started nonfiction reading. Maybe you're not very far in, but here's the problem with nonfiction reading. If I had known that I could have done this a month ago, you wouldn't be doing nonfiction reading in second grade. Because during the nonfiction reading unit, second graders stop reading and they start perusing and they start looking at pictures and they start like looking at stuff and talking about stuff, but they oftentimes stop like that voluminous reading, which is what kids need right now. They need voluminous reading right now. So here's what I need you to do. I need you to get out of that nonfiction unit as fast as possible. So do the 2 bends, do bend 1, do bend 2. It's 11 sessions and get out of there. Because you need kids to fall in love with series books. You need kids to start reading up a storm, and they have not been reading up a storm. Okay, they may have been reading, but they're not reading up a storm. They're reading and then they close their computers at 3 o'clock, Epic is done and they're done. And I need them like even reading at night. Like I need them lots and lots of books. So get out as fast as you can. And if that means you leave some blanks on your report card, if that means not every single blank under nonfiction reading is filled in on your report card at the end of the year, so be it. Like there might be some blanks. Okay, because I need you to get to this unit like ASAP, which is reading bigger books and amping up reading power. And we're going to do just 9 sessions of that. We're just going to do bend 1 and 2. Why? Well, because bend 3 is all about reading with your partner, and we're going to slice that right out. I'll show you a breakdown, but my recommendation is that you're really not doing reading partners in the amping up unit. You're just giving them time to independently read. When they transition to partnership, that takes 5 minutes. Then they start talking to their partners about their books. We got to cut that. Like I need them reading, okay? And then when you get to the series book club at the end of the year, then of course you can have the clubs meet and talk. Okay, so what's left in reading is nonfiction, get those 11 sessions done, get in, get out. Then really spend some time here in the amping up reading power, and then end the year with series books. So what that'll look like is that means you have 80 days, about 19 weeks of school to do 32 reading sessions. That's less than 2 a week. Okay? And we'll go back to this, but less than 2 a week. So when you think about mini lessons, how many mini lessons from the book do I need to get done? It is less than 2 a week. Okay, that's reading. Now we're gonna look at writing for a minute. Okay, so for writing, I lost my writing, okay. For writing, okay, so for writing, you are currently in that how-to guide for nonfiction writing. We're just gonna do 13 sessions, that's 2 bends. No need to go fast here because what you see with nonfiction writing is there are some kids that won't write fiction, but will write a ton of nonfiction. So that's okay that they can write nonfiction. It's just that 1 unit, and then we are not gonna do the reviews. We're not gonna do writing about reading. That unit has been cut. And we're going to do this very first. Remember that improving the narrative craft, the one that you used to start your school year with? We put it at the end. What's beautiful about this is kids will typically write up a storm during that unit. So we should be able to get them in the hang of writing again. The reason we're not going to do the review unit is because they don't write. They write little bits. They don't like write up a storm, which is what we need. Okay. So this is very short. Like when you look at this, this is for writing. This is, oh, that's weird. There we go. It's 19 weeks or 80 days to do 27 sessions. It's 1, maybe 2 sessions a week. Okay. So then we get to the phonics. Okay, this is where like the rubber meets the road, everybody, okay? So I took away reading and I took away writing because holy crap, their phonics is a hot mess. Okay, so let's look at what we're gonna do about it. So for phonics, yes, I took out word collectors because if you remember this year, 3rd grade started with your last phonics book. Next year, 3rd grade will take it again. Okay, so this is what you have in phonics. You have this big words, big resolve book. There's 18 sessions in that. You have the phonics word construction book. There's 20 sessions in that. There's extensions in both of these, which you guys are used to being able to kind of like skip around a little bit. But if your kids are lacking skills, the extensions become like essential, right? Like you don't want to miss any of those. And then here you have, oh, I have to get that out. See, I knew there was a mistake somewhere. I'll get that out. That's not supposed to be there. Because you have cursive and you have typing. I'll get this out in a minute. So you have cursive and typing. So you just have a lot of phonics. You have a ton of word work that you have to get to. So I wanted to show you a couple of models for how you could structure your time a little differently so that maybe you can fit this all in, okay?
And I just let you guys know that keyboards have been ordered for iPads. So your 2nd graders, if you haven't heard that, will be getting keyboards to go with their iPads. Most likely won't be until 4th quarter. So if you start keyboarding before that, while we're in school in session, you'd have to use, if you have laptops available for you at the school. Otherwise, you're going to have to wait till those keyboards come in to go connect to the kids' iPads.
So here's like, and this is just one way, but I think this way might be effective for you. So one thing I'm hearing from 2nd grade is like, even just this week, we're able to get to the reading, we're able to get to the writing, but oh my gosh, we cannot fit the phonics lesson in. And I'm like, no, not a choice. You have to fit the phonics lesson in. So here's how you could do it. Instead of having phonics be part of your daily schedule as a separate thing, maybe you could do it this way. So you schedule a writing workshop 5 days a week. You schedule it for 45 minutes, but only 1 to 2 days a week are you actually doing a writing mini lesson. The other days, you do a phonics lesson instead of a mini lesson. And then the kids go write. You know, if the phonics lesson's really long, their writing time might only be 10 minutes. If the phonics lesson's a little bit shorter, it might be 20. And then you really have to look at this mid-workshop share, okay? Because maybe you could do a little grammar there for mid-workshop. Or maybe you could do a little phonics extension. You're probably not going to be able to do the one that's in the writing book. And then I am recommending that you have no partners for 2nd grade writing. And that you skip all sessions that involve a partner at this point. And that instead of share, you do read aloud. Because one of the other things we're seeing is how long it takes kids to transition from one activity to the next. And the more things you have on your schedule, the longer, like the more 5-minute chunks of time that get sucked up. So if you can make this like one big thing, like it's like, we do our mini lesson, AKA phonics, then we write a little bit, I interrupt, and then we end with our read aloud. So that read aloud doesn't get sacrificed, so that it's built in every day. So reading would look very similar. Okay, so reading you'd have every day, but you might only have a couple days a week where you actually have a mini lesson. Actually, we're finding more like 1 to 3 days. And the other days you do a phonics lesson. And there's no partners. And kids are probably only reading about 15 to 20 minutes. And then for your ending, for share, you are looking at what I'm going to call component work. So if you have really low kids, you might need to do some shared reading, or you might need to do some interactive writing, or you might need to do some phonics extensions, but you might not be able to do the share that we're used to in reading workshop. Now you can play with this a little bit, but the idea is to try to pull all your reading and writing and your phonics into these two like chunks of time, right? Be careful, you know, when you only have to do 1 mini lesson or 2 mini lessons a week, you don't want to lose that mini lesson time. You want to still have it make it feel like a mini lesson, even if you have to put phonics in its place. And that's a good thing, right? Because like, here, let me do a mini lesson on digraphs. Now go read your books. Let's do a mini lesson on digraphs. Now, when you're writing today, if you do a digraph, make sure you spell it correctly, right? I think the extra time is only going to be a gift to you if you rethink how you use your time. Because if you end up with a chunk of time in your day because of the science or whatever, that you have extra time, then maybe you can add 15 more minutes of reading. But we know right now the kids can't make it 30 minutes, even if we could give it to them. So you might have to chunk it into 2 chunks, or you might need a little extra math time. These things are coming back. Argument writing is coming back in 3rd grade. Independent, you know, information writing, it's coming back in 3rd grade. But you guys, some of the math skills that you're working on in 2nd grade, they're not coming back. If they don't get them in 2nd grade, that's it. Like, they didn't get them. And then you could have a hole. So that's one of the reasons why we made so many like dramatic changes in 2nd grade, is because we really want to send the message, like, we just can't send kids forward with math holes, because we know that it all stacks on top of each other, and everyone's schedules are so tight, the maps are so tight, that it's not like we can add the 2nd grade math into 3rd grade next year. Yikes, I know that's a lot. What questions do you have?
I didn't see any in the chat, but I think your point at the end, Kate, is important. And I think that, you know, the 2nd grade teachers, also the kids coming in from the end of 1st, you know, those holes in the math ideas, I think that's you're going to have some time to where you can go back and revisit if need be.
Carrie, I think Carrie West might have had a question or a comment.
Yeah, just for report carding purposes, for opinion writing, we're leaving it just completely blank this year. For science at the end of the year, are we simply just going to be using the data from Matter and that's it? Okay.
Yeah, you're leaving the last one off.
And there may also be, just to be clear, there might be a few nonfiction reading items that you end up having to leave blank because we just like kind of powered through that nonfiction reading unit. Does everybody understand why? It's not that I don't think nonfiction reading is important. Y'all know that I do think that's important. But when it comes to independent reading, the way that you raise kids' reading levels is with fiction reading, because they read feverishly and they hook into series. Now, if you have an individual child who, for them, it's the nonfiction reading that like makes them soar, don't feel boxed in, like give them nonfiction books. But we just need them to get reading as a habit really quickly.
Remember, the report card has a statement on it that says if a item is shaded or blank, the item wasn't assessed, the standard wasn't assessed. Doesn't mean it wasn't taught, wasn't assessed. We don't need to explain that any further to parents. You don't need to put a justification in your comments as to, oh, well, we didn't get to it. We don't want parents to realize we didn't get to it. That's not our goal here, right? I mean, we have to do things have been different every day, every month since March. So we're trying to close as much as we can while we have the kids in person again.
Those of you who are teaming up with Dragon Virtual, some of them may be doing something a little bit differently, and that's fine. They may have more things filled in on their report card than you do. That's fine. Like their order's a little different and their schedule's been more consistent. So they've got some different grades that maybe you don't have, or, scores.
I have a question. If I know that the pacing is different for reading, writing, and phonics, but will it be beneficial to try to find the phonics that matches up with the reading and writing units like we have in the past? But I know the pace is going to go slower in reading and writing than in phonics. But do you know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying, Karen, but I think what I would do is this. Do the units in the order that the units are. And when you're thinking about grabbing additional phonics that you need, so let's say, for example, you have kids with short vowel problems. And we should not have short vowel problems right now in second grade, but we do. Okay, where would I do the short vowel problem? I would do that with some extra interactive writing or shared reading on the tail end of my reading workshop. And then, so when you're looking for phonics that kind of matches where they're at, that's where I would put that. And then I would keep going with the phonics units, because we also have a huge population of children. We just actually were looking at the data today. We have a huge group that's right where they're supposed to be in reading. And so that group is entitled to the grade level work in the same way that the struggling kids might need things tailored to them a little bit. Does that make sense? I worry just as much about the kids who are where they're supposed to be, because they've been logging in every day and doing their part. We want to make sure they get pushed forward too.
Okay.
Okay, what other questions? I hope that's good. The only other thing I didn't mention is let's say your pace is really good and you're just we're rolling, and I could totally fit in the review unit. I could totally fit that in. We're going to ask that you do not do units that we cut, because what is going to happen is we're going to adjust third grade's curriculum based on the fact that they didn't get those units in second grade. So now if you teach them, then that's going to cause us a problem. Plus, the extra time is not to teach those units. The extra time is to go back and grab that math or grab that phonics that kids have missed along the way. Those are the two big things for us right now. Is we're really worried about the math and we're really worried about the phonics, because remember, in third grade, there is no phonics. That's that. You lost it. Now, I know some of you were worried about the cursive, and I will tell you, we really, it was a soul-searching decision. If we cut the cursive, then we would have to cut it forever. Third grade does not have enough room in their curriculum for us to put cursive in. So if we took second grade cursive away, that means our district would no longer be doing cursive. So that's why it's still there. You just do what you can with it, but that's why it's still there, because we're not ready to make the breakup. Anything else?
Thank
So
you.
after today's session, I got to make one change, and then those will be posted today.
I think there was a question.
Me, sorry. Okay, so I'm
Hi,
only
Heather.
saying this because I'm not Maya. I can't get my daughter to change it off her computer. I'm only asking because I see a lot of big names on here, some big guns. So my question is on the FastBridge. I know, and I'm only doing math, science and stuff, but my scores I know are legitimately not correct. I gave the test even one-on-one over Zoom, constantly asking, please stop giving your kid the answer. I mean, parents right in front of my eyeballs, hand holding the pencil. I just know they're not legitimate. So is there talk? And I don't personally care. I'll be totally honest. If I'm ineffective because the FastBridge data comes up, whatever, that's fine. But I'm assuming we'll be in person and I'll be able to give the end of the year FastBridge, and I'm sure all the scores will drop. Not all of them, but a bulk of them. All
right, I'll answer. I'll take that. I'll take that question, Heather.
Okay.
One, just know, as a district, we're not out to screw any teacher. We are not looking to make anybody ineffective. That is not our goal. Every year we look at the data. There was a year, I don't know if it was 1 year or 2 years ago, first grade had major issues with their data. We adjusted it in the middle of the year. We adjusted it because we knew we made the wrong decision going in, right? So we will look at this. And the other piece is we know parents helped BOY. We know parents helped. We know all of that. One, if they're already in college and career ready, you don't have to worry those kids get growth. Two,
Wait, Carrie, my two part to that though is, oh, Emily's on there too. Can we, even if they met end of the year, can we give it to all of them so it's more legitimate data? Or do you not want that in the system? Do you know what I'm saying?
You have to give it to every kid, BOY, MOY, and EOY. There should be no kid that doesn't take the test unless they have a medical reason they're not coming to school.
I was thinking that if they met that end of the year.
No, they have to take it.
All my kids took it, but for some reason I was thinking if you met 509 or whatever that was.
No. Okay. Right. Because we do use that. That's one of the things Missy uses to create trends for us as a district too, going forward and predicting how our kids might do on the M-Step, because we're at the point with having enough data that generally we can predict where we think our third graders, our fourth graders, our fifth graders will
that was my
score.
fault. That was a brain
then. Okay. So we aren't looking, don't worry. It's if anything that I do when it comes to student growth, I advocate for elementary. I will never make it harder than anybody else. I already think, honestly, your kids have to grow 1 point. 1 point.
No, and I'm not. No, I mean, some of them jumped 45, and I didn't really even teach them anything during.
Right, and if they jump
40 or whatever,
right, they jump 45. It is what it is. Do we know that this year is probably not as valid as most years? Yes, we know. We're aware, but unfortunately, the state is still holding us to evaluations in student growth, and we can't get rid of that. That's not our choice. That's coming from the state, so we have to still implement what the state is asking. But promise.
And remember, if they're blue, like Carrie said this already, but if they were blue in the beginning of the year because somebody helped them, in the middle of the year because somebody helped them, if they ever got blue, you automatically get year of growth for them. Even though they have to take it still, they're counted as growth.
Hey, something that it says though in the student growth that I was going to talk to Carrie about.
Yeah, I know.
Is that it says unless they go backwards a point or they don't, something about
that's
not the blue.
So that's like a little piece we might want to.
Not for the blue, because the blue is college and career pathways. That doesn't matter.
But what you're talking about, Jen, is if they were in the green and then they lost some points and then they came back up.
Okay. If they're, we read it as if they were in blue and they went down, they still, okay.
And we're going to
look, they're in green.
Okay. We are looking to adjust that anyway, potentially for this year, that piece, because we've generally said if you don't grow from BOY to MOY, or they go down, because sometimes our high kids do that, right? Because remember,
it's hard.
well, remember the end game changes too, right? So where they need to be BOY for what FastBridge says is different than where they need to be MOY, and different for EOY. So the game changes as they go along. So we know that our high kids sometimes will fall down, because when you're in a 98th percentile, you're in 98th percentile. So what we've said is generally we want you to go from BOY to EOY and gain 1 point. But this year, because we know how many parents helped, we will probably have to adjust and say, guess what? Because some kids didn't get any help MOY. and went way down, that, all right, we're giving the test. Hopefully we're still in person. You're giving it's more valid because they aren't having help because you're proctoring it. That if they grow a point from MOY to EOY, that's fine versus BOY to EOY. We aren't going to penalize anybody because of that. So we're looking at it all the time. Like Kate said, we just spent today starting to look at the data. So we're not looking to penalize anybody. We want everybody to be effective, if not highly effective when it comes to student growth. It's just a different year.
That was a really relevant question, Heather. Literally, we were talking about it today. So
Okay,
thank
sorry.
you.
Well, I saw all the big names on here, so I haven't seen Adam though. Is he on? Oh,
He's
there
on.
he
He's
is.
on here.
Now I'm calling him out. Okay, bye. Thanks.
Bye. Anybody else? Okay. Off you go to change the world.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you very much for your time. I hope this helps a little
Yeah,
bit.
I'm really sorry I just showed up too.
Thank you,
I've been in
coaches.
4 meetings, so sorry.
No.
Yeah.
Thank you,
very
coaches.
much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Have a good week.
Bye.